The college football coaching carousel is insane right now, and it could get even more insane if a few coaches in the Big Ten decide to go elsewhere at the end of the season, or if their schools decide they need to go elsewhere by the end of the season. We have five possible coaches that could be doing that in the Big Ten that I do want to address, talk about, and then kind of give my thoughts on if we will see them head elsewhere or if they're going to stick around. So obviously the first one here that we're talking about, as I do have him here next to me, is Jonathan Smith over at Michigan State. Before we get into that though, please do like, subscribe, do all that good stuff for the channel. Trying to bring you guys Big Ten football news and rumors out there. We're never covering anything that is like disrespectful or anything. We might speculate every now and then and try to give you guys maybe some of the stuff that other people don't want to talk about, but overall we want to try and give you guys good content that is speculative at times, but also it does a good job of trying to look at all sides of everything and make sure we do that. Do that very well. So let's start with Jonathan Smith at Michigan State. Now, if you know a Michigan State fan, you probably know they're not too fond of Jonathan Smith right now. He's not exactly been stellar for the Spartans. He has a losing record in his career. He is 42 of 48, and then at Oregon State, he was 34 of 35. That obviously, took a hit because he did start his very first season at 2-10, but he did end his final season at 10-3, so that kind of helps level things out. But it did take a while for Oregon State to kind of get built up there a little bit. Well, ever since not his final season was 10-3. His final season was 8-4, but his second final season there was 10-3. I apologize. But then he moves on to Michigan State. Michigan State last year, 5-7. Okay, you need to build things up. Wasn't really great recruiting. Fans were not super ecstatic about that, but you had Aiden Childs coming back. Nick Marsh was coming back as well. You had some confidence in the other receivers, Krishan McCray, other guys, and you thought, okay, well, if you can get the line of scrimmage right on the offense and the defense, you have a good opportunity here. Unfortunately for Jonathan Smith, he was never really able to get the line of scrimmage right. And excuse me, he was never really able to get all that much right for this Michigan State team. And right now he is sitting at 6-3, an overall record of 8-13 at Michigan State in just about a season, a little bit over a season and a half. So pretty simple to say Michigan State fans are not super happy with Jonathan Smith. He rebuilt Oregon State, but it did take him some time. It looks like if he's going to rebuild Michigan State, it's going to take him some time as well. The QB change was something that also was interesting last game. Is he giving up on Aiden Childs? Is he somebody that is, was there something else going on with Aiden Childs why he didn't play? There's a lot in this scenario right now, Jonathan Smith, that does seem very fishy, and the schedule, the way it lays out for them at the end of the year is not the most favorable thing in the world either. So when you look at the schedule, they have obviously lost all their games in conference play, but in the 2025 season, they end the season against Penn State at Iowa in Maryland. Now, Penn State, they could win that one. Penn State does not have a win in the Big Ten yet, so they could possibly win that one, but Penn State is still a very talented team. It is at home for Michigan State, so they will have that going for them, but then they travel to Iowa. I find it hard to believe they'd win that game. And then home against Maryland. They could possibly win that game against Maryland, but you also might have Maryland playing for Mike Locksley's job there as well. We'll get to Mike Locksley here in a minute in this one. But overall, this seems like a pretty bad situation for Jonathan Smith. I tend to believe that Jonathan Smith is going to be coaching elsewhere next season, whether that's, him leaving on his own, whether that's the school firing him. I don't know exactly, but I find it hard to believe that Jonathan Smith is going to finish the season 3-9, 4-8, regress from his first season, and people are going to be okay with that. Now, there is the issue of there's a lot of other schools out there looking for coaches, and this might not be the best cycle in the world to go out there and look for another coach. You keep Jonathan Smith around, and then if the beginning of next season doesn't go well, that's when you fire him and you kind of move on there. That's another thought process that could go there. We'll see if that's what happens. I know that Michigan State is kind of weighing that a little bit and saying, well, if we fire Jonathan Smith, who else are we going to get? Because everybody right now is being pursued by everybody, and we might not be a team that goes out and just kind of gets our first pick. We might have to wait and see what everybody else picks, and then we get our own. So A lot to think through here for Michigan State. UCLA, that job is open. I haven't heard a whole lot of buzz about Jonathan Smith going to that one, but that was something that he was interested in before. And some people are saying that if that job was open before Michigan State, then he would have gone to UCLA if they offered him the job rather than gone to Michigan State. We'll see, but that's kind of the thought process there. Another one, staying out west, as I'm talking about UCLA, let's talk about Washington's head coach in Jedd Fisch. Jedd Fisch was hired just last season, went undefeated at home, but did not win a single game on the road. So Jedd Fisch has a pretty even record at his at Washington. Overall, at Washington, he is 12-9, so a little bit better than even. At Arizona, he was 16 of 21, and overall in his career, he is 29 of 31. So again, not a winning record, but he was also brought into Arizona, and Arizona was a really difficult situation at that point in time. So he did have to rebuild. Their first season was 1-11. His last season at Arizona, they finished 10-3. So rebuild accomplished. He got there and did that, but he did take some Arizona players, Tacario Davis, and guys like that, Jonah Coleman, guys like that with him over to Washington because, well, that's kind of what you do nowadays in college football. So Jedd Fisch is doing well. I wouldn't say he's doing so well that he is going to be like Florida's first pick for him, but there is talk out there that he is kind of entertaining the UCLA job a little bit, that he's kind of entertaining the Florida job a little bit, and then stuff will change the next day, and they'll be like, well, we haven't actually heard from Jedd Fisch. So the insider sourcing on this type of stuff, the reporting you get is it's pretty various on what you might hear. Sometimes it just kind of depends on the day. I tend to believe that Jedd Fisch is going to stick around at Washington. I think Washington is a very good job. I know a lot of people leave it, but I think that if you stay at Washington, you can win. And unless a program like Alabama or something or Florida really just kind of hones in on Jedd Fisch and says, this is our guy, I don't think that he is going to be the one that they hire. I think Florida, LSU, teams like that might have Jedd Fisch's interest have other coaches in mind, and UCLA might be the same way as well. We'll see what happens with UCLA. It's hard to know all the buzz on that stuff, but we'll definitely keep monitoring that and let you guys know once we have some more solid information there. So I would say that if I'm going by Jedd Fisch's past, it's likely he leaves. But based on kind of the buzz we're hearing and stuff like that, right now I don't think it's likely he leaves, but I would not be surprised if he leaves because, like I said, that's kind of been what his past is. He kind of doesn't really stick around in a program any longer than 2 or 3 years as a head coach, as a coordinator, as a position coach. He just doesn't stick around all that long. So we'll see what happens there. My next one, I told you we were talking about him, is Mike Locksley over at Maryland. A lot of people talking about Mike Locksley. There was a Twitter post that a lot of people fell for, that Mike Locksley got fired and everything else. No, he did not get fired. It was one of those Twitter troll type of accounts. And Mike Locksley, the Maryland fan base does not hate Mike Locksley like some people think they would. And he kind of quietly did a good job of improving his team steadily after COVID. So at Maryland, he is 37 of 45. Again, you get in there, you go 3-9 to start. Then you had or not to start. You go 6-1 in 2015, but your very first season as a full head coach, you go 3-9. Then you have COVID, where you go 2-3, and then 7-6, 8-5, 8-5. So you're kind of steadily improving. And then last year you got hit with the 4-8, and it's like, oh, okay, well we just regressed there. You start this year 4-0, and it's like, oh, okay, we've improved. This is a young team. This is really good. But then you have the fourth quarter loss to Washington, the fourth quarter loss to Nebraska, the fourth quarter loss to UCLA on the road, and then you just got blown out by Michigan this past game, or not Michigan, Indiana this past game as well. So what does this situation look like at homecoming? It's not exactly a great spot to lose by 45 points, but that's what happened, especially with all the turnovers and everything else. I tend to believe that if Mike Locksley just wins one more game, if he just wins one more game, then he's going to be just fine. We'll see if that happens, but to end the season, he has at Rutgers, at Illinois, Michigan, and at Michigan State. So they did go on the road and win at Wisconsin and did that pretty convincingly. So it's not that they can't win on the road, and they did give UCLA a really good game on the road too. They were tied with less than 2 minutes left in that game. It's just they let UCLA get down the field and be able to kick a field goal. So We'll see what happens overall in this one. Maryland does have a better defense than people give them credit for. I think they could beat Rutgers this weekend at Rutgers. And if they do, I would say that Mike Locksley is safe with his job at that point. All right, number 4, Luke Fickell. Now, this is probably the easiest one to bring up. But Luke Fickell, he was hired by Cincinnati in 2020, or hired from Cincinnati in 2023. He obviously was known for getting Cincinnati to the playoff, the first G5 team that made it to the 4-team playoff, and he did very well at Cincinnati. 57 wins, 18 losses. He gets to Wisconsin, and you think, okay, slam dunk hire. Yes, he did. He did not do well as an interim head coach at Ohio State, but that was also an impossible situation. There weren't many coaches that were going to do well, so he gets back to the Big Ten, and you say, okay, this guy can win. He's going to be able to get it done, and he just drops the ball. He won the bowl game, the very first one. I think it was a guaranteed rates bowl. He won that one, so that, good on him. But then he follows it up with a 7-6 year. Okay, you're trying to get your guys in there. You're kind of changing a little bit of the offense and the way Wisconsin football is. We get it. Then you go 5-7. You break the bowl streak, and then now you're 2-6 this year, and you're basically the laughing stock of the Big Ten. I mean, I don't know if there's a single Big Ten power rankings out there that doesn't have Wisconsin last at this point. They've been shut out multiple times. Their offense looks completely inept. Luke, they're injured all over the place, and Luke Fickell basically just goes to every single press conference looking totally defeated at this point. So it's a very, very interesting situation. I think in any other situation, you would say yes, Luke Fickell is cooked. He is fired, but he has the support of the athletic director, and he has the support of a mega booster who is committing to put more money into this program. So you have to ask yourself, are we really going to fire the athletic director and the head football coach, and risk not having this kind of booster money be able to come in and help him? I don't know. So it's going to be really interesting. His buyout does technically get lower in December, but I think if you're waiting until December, that's really hard to do. But then also, Wisconsin kind of finds themselves in the same boat a little bit as Michigan State. I think Wisconsin might be a better job than Michigan State, but I would have to go back and look and see who's spending more money on their program, the coaching staff, stuff like that. From what I can tell, the head coach at Wisconsin is paid pretty well, but it's the coaching staff that's kind of middle of the pack in the Big Ten, and so that does impact things as well. So we'll see what happens with Luke Fickell. Not great this season. Potentially going to finish the season 2-10. We'll see what happens with Washington this weekend, but the buyout is currently over $20 million. They might be waiting until that buyout to get a little bit lower in December, or they might just be keeping around and saying the booster's giving money, the athletic director's backing him. Let's give him one more season and see what happens. Last one, Dana Holgorsen. Now I know he's not a head coach, but Dana Holgorsen is getting some buzz for the Oklahoma State job. He is the former head coach at West Virginia and Houston. He got, I believe, fired from both of those jobs. So not exactly the best situation for him to go be a head coach elsewhere. But overall, in his head coaching career, he was 92 of 69. He was 61 of 41 at West Virginia, and he was 31 of 28. So winning record everywhere he went. His offense was definitely something that when people hired him, that was a huge plus for him to be able to bring that in. It would make sense with him previously being at Oklahoma State to go back to Oklahoma State, be the successor. But I also know the fans are not super fond of Dana Holgorsen. So it just kind of depends on where Dana Holgorsen is at right now, right? Does he want to go back, get his own program, do his own thing? Or does he kind of just like ball like Chip Kelly did when he went to Ohio State, where it's just like, man, I just like coaching ball. I just like talking to the players, drawing up stuff, calling plays. I don't have to worry about anybody yelling at me for being the head coach and calling plays. Could that be the case? Could he go back to Oklahoma State? I'm gonna put this one at a maybe. I'm not sure which way this will go. Either way, I think that Dana Holgorsen definitely could head back to Oklahoma State or something like that if he wanted to. But I would also lean and say I think he's probably going to stick around, because at this point, why would you leave Nebraska, a good paying position, a blue blood in college football, to go be someplace else in the Big 12 or something like that? He would have to really, really have a desire to kind of do his own thing, go off and get his own program. And I think Matt Rule Rule seems to be treating his coordinators quite well. So I just don't think that's going to happen. But what do you think is going to happen with these 5 coaches in the Big Ten? Do you guys, which one do you think is most likely to not be around next season, and which one do you guys think, Jr. You're absolutely crazy for even entertaining this one? I get it. I get it. That's how it goes when we cover Jr's Big Ten football news and rumors. Appreciate you being here. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. We'll see you next time.